All right, I'm here. I'm here. Went a little bit longer there, made you wait a little longer than I normally like to. My apologies. Let me just get this ready. You like that image there? Isn't that a great image? We've got 8 people on, so let me just tell you all. Of course, we just started, and it is slow getting started. I don't expect hardly anybody to watch this shit. No, I don't expect hardly anybody to watch this. The algorithm, y'all, is gonna kill it. It is gonna kill it. And I won't even waste people's time with all of that, with all of the particulars of that situation and how the YouTube algorithm kills anything non-celebrity that I do. Damn it! And I guess it's my fault. I don't know. I guess I've let this situation occur. But anyway, long story short, I don't want to talk about it anymore. We're going to talk about skincare. But here's my point. This is, as they say, this one is for the fans. And this is because it's gonna do nothing for me personally or my YouTube or anything. And probably YouTube is not even gonna show it to but a handful of people. But for those of you, and I probably didn't even respond to you because I don't have time to read or respond to almost anything these days. But those of you who were filling my inbox, various inboxes with, can you give me your skincare tips, or can you tell me what are you using now, or I saw you switch products from this to this, please, and there were some of you that were repetitively messaging me, which I loved. I think it's so I don't know, flattering or cool or funny or something, but I totally gotcha. I know that you want to hear about what I do. So great, with my skincare. So there's going to be basically 2 versions of this. Oh, look, we're up to 28 people now. 28 people are going to tune in. I probably should have gotten a more appealing image here to discuss, but this is basically more or less the entire point of what I'm going to be doing for the next hour or so. Um, so let me get to the point here. There's going to be 2 versions of this. Basically, there's going to be this version, which is going to be a super laid back live stream. It's just going to be like me pretending that I'm talking to one of my girlfriends or my guy friends interested in skincare. I don't have any guy friends interested in skincare, but it could always happen. You never know. I have some fans. I have some male fans who are interested in skincare though. But look, let me just say this. There is a reason why Brad Pitt looks the way he does at the age of, what is he, 61, 62, 60, 61, 62? I don't know. But there's a reason why Brad Pitt looks as great as he does. And it's not genetics, because you can look at his daddy and to a degree to his brother to see that. And so he's getting a lot of shit done. Now he's getting more interventionist stuff too, I'm sure. Plastic surgery, all kinds of plastic surgery procedures and Botox and fillers and stuff, which, by the way, I have no problem with. I don't think I'm going to talk about that much later in the program. The title of this, or I guess the subtitle that you see on the thumbnail where I say no Botox, no fillers, no plastic surgery, I'm just letting people know that I'm not knowledgeable about those things. It's not to brag and say, oh, I've never done these things, although that's good information for people to know. If I'm here partly touting the condition of my skin as evidence that a skin regimen I think works, then it's totally logical and rational for people to say, okay, have you had anything else, right? So I just want people to know from the outset what the situation is, and also that I don't have any information about, we're up to 48. I don't have any information about plastic surgery or Botox or fillers. I will one day when I get to the point where I want to start doing those things. So I am not against Botox or fillers or plastic surgery necessarily. And I think probably the best looking stars that you think are aging really well and that you don't think have had anything crazy done have probably had a number of significant plastic surgery procedures, because that stuff is just so realistic looking now, and it can be done if you have a good surgeon. It can be done to look so natural. So I'm not saying that I would, if I one day ever had the money, which I certainly don't, but if I ever had the money and I were, say 15 years along and further along the aging process, I probably would have stuff done. So and the Botox and the fillers, let me just say from the outset, I don't know what to think about. I still don't know what to think about Botox and fillers in terms of whether I think that it's good or bad for the skin. And I have not looked into the research again, because here's my philosophy, y'all. My philosophy since I started getting interested in skincare in my late 20s, I've used actually Retin-A since my teenage years because I had really bad acne, but we'll talk about all that. We're gonna talk about my whole skincare journey. So I don't know, that might sound horrifying. This might sound like a painful odyssey in front of you. And if so, then just, just click off, just go to the next thing. But for people who are really interested, you said you were really interested. So the version I'm giving you of this video is going to be right now, is going to be the long live stream where I'm going to go over everything related to skincare and my skincare journey and this product, and here's stuff I don't know about, all of that, my philosophy, all that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this and I'm just going to pick out like the most relevant stuff, where I might just reshoot a short video. I'm talking 10 or 15 minutes where I just like rapid fire. I'm like, here are the products that I'd recommend or what I use or what I've tried and what doesn't work. And this is my philosophy and whatever. So I'll say this too, if this is too long drawn out for you, then wait around. Probably sometime in the next couple of weeks, I'll be putting out the short version. Okay. As for your comments, since I see a super chat, my plan is to address the super chats, reasonably speaking, as they come up. And then at certain intervals in this, I'll try to go through and look at your questions that were not super chat. And we don't have a lot of people on here, 50, so it's not going to be unmanageable. What's up, Chris Talks? Thanks. Wait, thanks for what? Yeah, no, I know. I appreciate the guys though, seriously, that I meet online who are interested in skincare, because that's the thing that I was trying to say with Brad Pitt, getting back to the guy thing, is like, it's really easy for guys to sort of say, oh, I'm not interested in skincare. I'm not interested in skincare products or anti-aging skin products or whatever. And then, but it's like, okay, but society is moving on kind of without you in a way. And I understand now, everybody knows that not everybody can look like Brad Pitt, right? That's not a realistic ideal. But as these things, what happens with new technology is it starts with the celebrities and the upper classes. And then it becomes more accessible, it becomes more affordable, it becomes more mainstream. And so then after a certain point, these things then are just mainstream. And we're not there yet. And I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to pressure anyone saying, oh my God, one day you're going to get left behind. But I'm just saying, like, there's a certain kind of reality to some of these things. I'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, but thank you for that. And hello to everybody. And by the way, hello to my mods. I saw Laura B, and they'll probably be in and out. And one more thing. Oh, thanks for keeping me informed, Chris. Chris says, I'm a big Marilyn fan, been watching videos from you since you covered Johnny Depp and Heard. Well, then I appreciate that you are giving me a chance with this. Let me say this, even if you don't give a shit about skincare, I think you're going to hear some stuff that's kind of interesting, because partly what attracts me to this and always has is a certain like scientific interest in it that almost like, I mean, it sounds weird, but you can almost kind of do experiments with your face. And it's like to put on a topical, it's almost like Brian Johnson-esque. Like I totally get what Brian Johnson is trying to do, even though, yeah, he's out there. He's a weirdo. He looks strange. I don't really know why he looks so strange, but whatever. But at the same time, like the guy is out there on the frontier and he's trying to extend human longevity. And do I really think that he's going to live forever? No. Does he really think that he's going to live forever? I would think he's not that delusional, or I would hope he's not. But what he is going to do, he's putting his money and his investors' money to work trying to figure out strategies for extending human life. And so anyway, this is not an anti-aging program in the sense, Neil Price, I saw you say something about adrenochrome. This is not, I'm not going to get into anti-aging stuff in general. This is all going to be about skin and skincare. And so anti-aging in that sense, I don't have the knowledge. I haven't researched all of the anti-aging stuff. I know that like people that I know who are into this, they're taking things like, what was the drug? A friend of mine is taking something that is legal, that she's getting from a doctor, but it's like a drug that's normally given just to diabetics or something. It's not a weight loss drug like Wegovy or Ozempic or anything, but I'm just saying like there are things that people are experimenting with. And again, it'll eventually drift down to the mainstream, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm into skincare today. So let's start with briefly, I'm going to try to keep it short. Let's start with my overall, well, let's start with getting this ugly image off the screen here. So this is my overall philosophy about skincare. Are y'all ready? I'm going to make myself actually large for a moment. Look, oh, we're down to 30. No, I'm just going to be, the whole point of this, honestly, is not even the people who are watching the stream right now, though God bless you for being here, but it's all the people who will see it, who've been begging me to make this video. So one, I think, objection to skincare, to being really involved with skincare, laser stuff, what have you. I think one objection that people make is that, first of all, you're just delaying the inevitable and that you're basically engaging in a kind of delusional narcissism, which is to say that you can't deal with, that I can't deal with aging or the idea of getting older or the idea of losing whatever sex appeal I may have or may not have or whatever. But like, I can't deal with that, with those things. And so I grasp onto an interest in skincare and I get laser procedures and I use growth factors and retinoids and things like that. And I wear SPF and I wear a hat, et cetera, et cetera. I do these things out of this desperate, narcissistic, delusional attempt to deny that I'm going to age and that I'm going to die, right? And I think that that is definitely always something to be checking in if you're doing some of this stuff or you're interested in some of this stuff or even like at the higher level of like plastic surgery, Botox fillers. I think that is always a really healthy thing to be checking in on yourself about. And because there's always going to be that thread there or that element of, okay, this is like too much or this is going too far or come on now, you do have to accept that you're going to age, right? And so I totally understand that perspective. And again, I can't speak for anyone else, or to me, it's not some one size fits all that like the way I feel is the way that you should feel. I think this is like more than most things. This is totally, totally up to the individual and what they care about and their priorities or the way they see life or the way they see themselves, right? But for me personally, this is how I think about it. This is why I have taken care of my skin to the degree that I have, and that I have spent more time, and even with my family connections, at times a little more money than I would have if I weren't doing this stuff. This is how I think about it, is that it's not that I'm trying to escape or I think that I can escape the inevitable. It's that I feel like if I can extend my quote unquote, and people don't like this term, but I don't know how else to put it, my aesthetic shelf life, if I can extend that, then I'm also extending a period where I will have greater opportunities, partly based on that. And I'm not talking about opportunities based on that in the sense of like, oh, I'm so hot, and so I'm just going to, I need more years of shelf life of being hot. No, I'm just saying that we all judge each other to some extent based on appearance and also based on um, an age bracket that we see people in. And it's unfortunate, but as people get older, there are certain ways in which society, in certain situations and contexts, can look at those people in a negative sense. Like, I'll give you an example. Like my mom, she is in her 70s, and she tells me that she notices, even though she hasn't changed like cognitively or intellectually, there's no reason to think, to perceive of her as someone who's intellectually weaker now than she was 10 years ago. She says that she notices a difference in how people sometimes talk to her, especially like if she goes to a store and she's talking to a salesperson or something, that there's almost a kind of an infantilization that creeps into the language, right? And it's not like she's like bemoaning this or like, this sucks or whatever, but it's just an observation that she was making. And so, look, y'all, we all know that what I'm trying to do with my life, YouTube, social media, honestly, even when I was an English professor, an English lecturer, to be perceived by the students as more youthful, it gives you a sort of a kind of a way of connecting with them or credibility or something in the classroom. But certainly on YouTube and certainly in the social media world, and you all would agree with this, that it's better to be perceived as aesthetically younger or fresher or whatever term you want to use. So I guess that's the thing that I would say is a sort of an explanation of why I'm interested in this stuff, in part, is that I'm aware that I'm pursuing, whether it's a hobby or it's a career or whatever the hell I'm doing with my life right now with this YouTube stuff, I'm aware that there are distinct advantages to not aging gracefully, as they say, in the sense that doing things to actively, and I always have, to actively try to extend my shelf life, right? But and that's the thing too, talking about like the YouTube and the Botox and the fillers and all that, and why I haven't done that up to this point. Another part of my philosophy has always been to try to delay invasive stuff or more problematic stuff or more questionable stuff as long as possible. And so you all may know this,
there are a ton of doctors now who are recommending to their 20-something-year-old patients, clients, that they need to get preventive Botox. I just think that, personally speaking, and again, I could be totally wrong on this, and maybe there's some dermatologist out there, plastic surgeon, who wants to tell me why I'm wrong, but I just think that sounds freaking crazy. I think that people should be delaying as long as possible getting Botox. And then, well, some of the doctors, will say, you see them on TV and they'll say, well, but then you start forming wrinkles, right? And that is the line. That is the line that's one line I personally draw in my life. So that's the thing. Everybody has to draw their own lines. There are all kinds of ways, y'all, that I actually am totally not on the ball with my skincare. And I'm like, yeah, because life is too short. I can only care about this so much. I have on my arms, you probably can't see. Let me see. Yeah, you can't. It's the lighting here. You can't really see it. But I have these like crevices on my arms that once you get to a certain age, ladies, especially if you've been out in the sun, you'll start to get. It's a sort of like crevicey or crepey like thing, right? So I have these on certain parts of my arms, and it's because I'd never bothered covering up my arms all the times that I would go out for a run or go out for a walk or whatever, right? And it's not that I didn't know that the sun was not, that it could damage it's not that I was unaware that the sun can damage my arm skin as much as my face, but it was like my attitude was, you know what? I'm covering up my face. I don't want to worry about anything else. So I'm going to get to the skincare now, but I just say that to you all in the sense of like, ultimately, you just do what you want. And we've all got different priorities and ways of viewing the world. And I just want to give people, my fans, since they've asked, I wanted to give them some information, a little information for what it's worth. It's not like the end of all knowledge. There's lots of things that I don't know about or don't know enough about. And like I said, I haven't even researched Botox and fillers and stuff because I'm trying to delay as long as possible through my skincare, delay that moment where I will look in the mirror one day and I'll say, I want to do something about this, right? One more thing, let me say too, and here we'll get back to the image. Okay, someone said in the comments earlier, and I totally, absolutely don't mind them saying this because this is actually a point that I wanted to get to. Someone said, a lot of this is genetics, and then she said, you're white, so you know this, as in like, y'all know the phrase black don't crack, right? And it is very, very true that the melanin difference in black skin versus white skin means that typically speaking, black people age a lot better than we do, right? But the point that she was making is that, don't, you can tell people, oh, you can get this cream or you can get this laser procedure or whatever, but like, isn't a lot of this genetics? And to that, I will say, first off, a lot is genetics. I don't know that I would say that it's necessarily most or even 50%. I'm actually not sure, and I haven't ever like looked at studies trying to evaluate that. But what I do know is that there have been a number of significant studies and examples like the one that we see here. And then there's another one, there have been many done on twins, of situations where you have the same genetics, but you have a different environmental context or stimulation or situation, right? And by the way, if my hair looks wet, it's because I washed my face right before I came here, because I'm actually going to show you how to apply some of these things. But anyway, so we got this guy. This is a really famous one. This was a lorry driver in the UK, and I'm ashamed to admit how ignorant I am. I don't know what a lorry is. I'm assuming that it's like a truck. It's like a big truck, like we'd say a truck driver here, but is that wrong? I don't know. But anyway, but he was a lorry driver for like 28 years. And I'll make this a little bit bigger. Apparently, this entailed one side of his face being exposed, to the mirror, to the window, right? Because, I mean, if you've done a lot of driving, you know this. There's one side that you're driving on, right? And so that's the side that's going to keep getting sun. So it's basically like this dude was sunbathing for 28 years, just one side of his face, or for the most part. I mean, he was still getting UV from the UV rays from, I'm sure, the other side, but much more exposure you can see on one side. So this is a good example here of what the sun does. And I know a lot of controversy at times in health circles, people who are really into health, about sun because, yes, the sun is a vital source of vitamin D, and you cannot get the same kind of vitamin D in pills or supplements that you can get that you would get through sun exposure. So we definitely need a bit of sun, but but too much sun is in fact dangerous in a number of ways. Brian Johnson was talking about this the other day that like people who live in sunnier climates ended up generally do not live as long as people in colder climates. And he was talking about how he carries an umbrella around all day or whatever. I don't know about all of that. It's interesting. But I do know that sun fucks up your face. And so you can see it on this guy that the side that was sun exposed is in a number of ways dramatically, dramatically different. And again, y'all notice too, it's not just about wrinkles, it's about all this other like folds and weird shit going on. I mean, it's just like it hurts your face. And I'll give you another example here, and then we will move into some skincare. All right. And then these two, so these are twins, and there were two differences with these twins in their lifestyle. Can you guess? One difference was that the twin on the right loved to sunbathe. And then the other difference was that the twin on the right smoked cigarettes, apparently. Now, I hate to say this because I've got some good friends I know in my audience who care about their skin, but they're also tobacco smokers. And it is just the absolute worst thing that you can do. It is for your skin. It is and for your body too, as it turns out. Some people know this. I have an ex-boyfriend, beloved ex-boyfriend years ago, died of lung cancer. Almost positive it was from smoking. Long story, don't want to get into it, whatever. And I'm definitely a libertarian, and people have to, everybody's got weaknesses and vices, and you can't tell people what to do. But tobacco is just horrible for you. And so it is terrible for your skin. And you can see this even with the old classic movie stars, that no matter how hot they were, like all of the French movie stars, right? Or even the American ones, because smoking used to be so acceptable. And you can see, like, no matter how beautiful they were, it's like something happened when they hit their early 30s, even their late 20s and their early 30s, and the skin gets really like ashen looking. They almost kind of look sort of corpse-like in a way. There's all of these premature wrinkles. And I mean, you see it if you look at pictures of Lauren Bacall. Like, Lauren Bacall was beautiful until her mid-20s, and then you see all the telltale signs of premature aging from cigarettes. Now, people have asked me about the vapes, and I think that vapes are definitely better than the nicotine vapes are definitely better than cigarettes and stuff. The thing is, though, that nicotine is a vasoconstrictor, and so to some degree, the aging effect that comes from smoking is because of the vasoconstriction that nicotine causes. So what I would say is it would be ideal to eventually get off the vapes and the nicotine too. And I know smoking tobacco is like the hardest thing to quit. I've had friends who had severe like heroin addictions and even said that it was harder to quit in a way harder to quit tobacco. So anyway, but it is what it is. But this is my point though. There is actually, yes, of course, genetics matter, but there is actually a lot that one can do in terms of lifestyle. And the other thing that I want to say is it's also never too late. It really isn't to get started. And I understand that there might be a number of people in the audience who are like, well, this is all well and good, but like I'm in my 40s now, my 50s or 60s or whatever. Yeah, but think about this. Are you going to 10 years from now, are you going to still care about how you look? And if your answer is yes, I'll still care about how I look, then what I would say to you is there will be still a dramatic difference in how you will look if you start proper skincare now and carry it through for 10 years versus if you just continue on however you are, right? Now, of course, someone might be totally comfortable with that. And again, everybody's, this is a skincare video. So that's what I'm talking about here. If you're not into skincare, you don't believe that we should be talking about this stuff, then move on to something else. Okay. Are y'all ready? I'm trying to think if there's anything else in the lead up that I've left off, but I guess there isn't. Okay. So the other day I was doing a little research on a product that I just, oh, no, I'm sorry. One more thing. I'm sorry. I mentioned that I'm 44, almost 45, not as like a boast of like, oh my God, don't I look great? I do think that the consensus I think is that I look younger than I am. And but the problem with my saying that is that there's always going to be people in the comments or whatever going to be like, no, you don't. My grandma looks better than you. But the reason I bring it up is because people want to see like some kind of barometer of, okay, what is this girl's age? What is her skin like? And what's the condition that it's in with using these things? So I bring this up because I do want to say something. I do have like signs of aging on my face, and some of them you can't because of the lighting. You can't see very well. But I say this because, again, I don't think the goal is to eradicate every sign of aging. Like, I could order regularly chemical peels off of Amazon, which is actually something I'll talk about later in the video that some of you might want to try if you're very, very careful. But I could order chemical peels, and I could, for instance, I have very severe 11, they call them 11 lines, and you can't maybe see them with the light on me, but sometimes you will see them, especially if I've been, yeah, you see that, right? I have very severe, kind of severe 11 lines, especially depending on if I've been sleeping a certain way or frowning a lot or concentrating during the day. I could get a chemical peel, basic TCA chemical, not THC, TCA chemical peel off of Amazon. It costs like $30. And I could every 4 weeks give myself, because I did this when I was in my 20s and I actually was getting some lines that I hated and I first got into skincare. And you can give yourself at home chemical peels every 4 or 5 weeks. And eventually, as you're after that skin is peeled enough, it's going to lessen those lines. My point is this: why haven't I done it? Because I don't have a big deal with it. I don't think it's a big deal. And I kind of actually like the 11 lines. I think it kind of makes people look a little more intense or whatever. And it's the same thing too. Like there's other things on my face. As you get older, you lose part of aging. Everyone is not just the wrinkling of the skin, but it's the loss of facial volume, facial fat, even muscle in the face. And which is why some people will try to do face exercises or face yoga to build up the muscles and the scaffolding, which I still don't know how I feel about that. That's kind of a weak spot of my knowledge. Theoretically, I guess it seems like that could work, but it also seems like you would have to be doing a lot of crinkling of your skin and stuff to be doing those facial exercises. And I don't know so I just don't know on that. I'm gonna have to do more research and come back on that one. But my point is that part of aging is not just wrinkling of skin, and loss of collagen, but it's the reduction of things, like bone and muscle and facial fat. And that's where some of the sagging happens too, which is why there reaches a point where even with great skincare, people do end up going more invasive, right? Because there reaches a point with like, I can do all the skincare in the world, but there's going to be a point where like the sag is going to bother me. Right now, you might just say, well, that's just normal aging. You shouldn't care. And you might be totally right. But just honestly speaking, that's the situation. So again, I say these things to you of like, I'm not trying to hold myself up as some like paragon of like, you too can look like this. I'm just trying to say, look, I think I look pretty good for my age. I've always been super interested in skincare. People ask me what to do and what I do. And so here we go. Okay. So I was researching the other day a new product that I have only been using since Christmas because my sorta father-in-law, I've been in a relationship many years, not legally married, but basically feels like it. And so the father of my guy is he owns a med spa, a face med spa. So he does all the laser stuff and Botox and filler and prescribes, all these different products. And he's constantly like reading up on the latest stuff and whatever. And so some of what I've learned from him and from talking with him. But then I also spend a good amount of time researching myself. And look, Reddit is a great place. Reddit is a great place to go for information. And you just have to remember, though, you're just getting individual people's perspectives. So you can't, just with anything, you can't go to 1 or 2 posts on Reddit and see people complaining or trying to scare you about getting a laser procedure or this or that. Even though, yes, sometimes screw ups happen, and there are things that can go wrong with the lasers, especially if you've got a bad practitioner. But anyway, my point is that you can find a lot of info on Reddit. So if you're wondering, a lot of my information is just research, trial and error. A lot of stuff I've been doing again since I got interested in this, and then also my basically my father-in-law. So, anyways, okay. So he gave me this for he and my mother-in-law gave me this for Christmas, and this is the Defenage, Defenage, like age, like defense, Defenage, Defenage. And this is the 8-in-1 bio serum. And this is the professional version. So here's one thing that I can kind of teach you right off the bat. Well, we'll get into that in a minute, but here's my point. We're going to talk about this in a little while. But I was researching this, and on this company's website, they happen to have a list of products, types of products that can help in skin rejuvenation and skin repair. And so because they had a Q&A section, and someone had asked, well, what else can I do besides using this product? What else can I do if I want to fight aging and have youthful skin? And they had listed, you can also try, and these were not products that they had, these were just general strategies, right? And they wrote on there, you can also try this, 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 and this. And I thought to myself, this is actually a perfect list. They listed 4 things. And I thought this is actually a perfect list here of the 4 main types of products that people can try and should try if they can, if they're interested in anti-aging skincare. And so I'm going to go through that list, and I'm going to talk about these products. Now, the one that you've probably heard about the most is Retinoid. And people get confused because there's Retinoid, and there's retinol, and then there's the term retinoid. And then there are types and then there's then there is the generic name for Retinoid, which is tretinoin. And then there are other versions of Retinoid, such as tazarotene, which is the strongest retinoid that you can get. I myself don't use it because it even causes me irritation, and it's twice as expensive as Retinoid because it's something that was just totally lab engineered and synthesized, I guess is the word. It's a totally synthesized product. So basically what they did was they took tretinoin, and then they basically in a lab really souped it up or hyped it up or whatever into something stronger. And that's where you get Tazorac or tazarotene. So the thing is, though, it's more expensive, it causes more face irritation, and the studies show that although you get a bigger initial pop with the Tazorac or the tazarotene in terms of, wow, very quickly you can see that the face is being rejuvenated, that over time, the effects of Tazorac or tazarotene tend to level out and be comparable to the effects of prescription Retinoid. And so my thinking was, well, if I'm getting this irritation that can be kind of annoying, even after years of using a product, if I'm still getting this irritation, I'm having to pay a lot more, and the effects are going to level out to be the same, then why am I using this product? So I ended up, you could say, downgrading to Retinoid or tretinoin. So this is tretinoin. It's just that Retinoid is the brand name of tretinoin. And what tretinoin is it's basically really like souped up, hyped up vitamin A. And vitamin A, it turns out, in this particular formulation as a retinoid, it has really dramatic rejuvenating effects on the skin. Now, the term retinoid is an overall umbrella for any products like Retinoid, tretinoin, tazarotene, Tazorac, or retinol. And so you can think about the term retinoid as being the biggest umbrella, so to speak, describing all of these different products and their mechanism of action. What I would recommend to most people is that you start with the weakest retinoid available, which is over the counter, and it is retinol. So retinol is the stuff that is in most of the, I should say this. Retinol is the stuff that's in any over-the-counter products. You cannot get anything stronger. You cannot get Retin-A over the counter unless you're in Mexico, which is actually where I got this. When I went to see Marilyn Manson perform in Mexico, I stocked up on my my Retin-A. But you can't get anything stronger than retinol. And so Retin-A, I believe, is supposed to be about 10 times stronger than retinol, but that is not to say then that retinol doesn't do shit or it's not worth messing with. Here's what I want everybody to understand, okay? Everybody pay attention as if I'm teaching a class here, all right? Look at me. I used to do this with students. I would get quiet and just like wait until I could see all eyes so I knew that they were following me, tracking me. Here's what I want everyone to understand, okay? There are two principles of retinoids, whether we're talking about retinol or Retin-A or what have you, all right? I want everybody to hear me, okay? Number one, these are very powerful ingredients. These are very powerful topicals. And so when people get a prescription for Retin-A and they glob it on a couple of nights in a row, and they wake up one day and their face looks like a fucking monster and it's peeling and it's red, and then they get on the phone and they're like, "Why my face? This stuff sucks. I'm never using it again." Well, retard, you fucking used it wrong. No, I shouldn't be saying that. I know I'm talking to some of you in the audience, but it gets annoyed. It gets annoying because this is like the thing that is the biggest objection that I get from people when I suggest Retin-A is they all give me some horror story of like, oh, my sister tried that and her face, it turned bright red and it was peeling, and I'm never using that product. These are extremely powerful topicals. They're extremely powerful. That's why they work. It's good. It's good that they're powerful because that means that unlike most of the shit that people spend their money on, this stuff actually does something. But the downside to this stuff doing something is that you have to be careful and you have to ramp it up very, very gradually. And so what that means is you start with a retinol, or if you want to be brave, so to speak, start with a really, really low percentage of Retin-A, and you can of tretinoin, and you can look it up. You can ask your doctor, whoever's prescribing it. You shouldn't have to go to a dermatologist necessarily for this kind of thing. I mean, even this is basic stuff that's been around since the 70s, and it's time tested. Tons of people been on it, and so you should just be able to, even if you have a GP, just a general practitioner, say, "Oh, by the way, I'm having some skin issues, or I want to fight wrinkles or whatever. Can I get a prescription?" But you want the very lowest formulation of Retin-A, like I think it's like 0.025 or something. And then you want, and by the way, this is gel, so this is a different formulation too. The gel generally of any of these things is going to be stronger. That's why I prefer the gel, but the cream works really great too. All right, with the gel, you can get a bit more irritation too. That's a factor. But anyway, I would go for the lowest formulation of a Retin-A or tretinoin cream, or just start with an over-the-counter retinol. And one that I would say, and here's the thing too, you got to be careful with, not all retinol formulations over the counter are the same. So there are tons of products, as you know, if you were to go into your local drugstore right now, your local pharmacy, there are tons of products that say retinol. We've got retinol in this shit, right? But it may just be like a tiny drop of retinol that's not going to really do anything. Not all retinols are the same, right? And so I know it's more expensive, but to be safe, better than sorry on this account, I would go for something like SkinCeuticals retinol. SkinCeuticals has a 1% retinol. Let me see if I can find the link here. And I think what I'll do too is I'll go back to this video. I won't have time today, but maybe tonight I'll go back and I'll add in links for things. But you can write this down and you can look it up. So yeah, so it looks like it's $100 basically, and I'm going to talk about the cost issue in just a minute. But this is, if I were trying to just a second, let me get the link. If I never used a retinoid before, this is what I would be starting with. And then what you're going to do is you are going to start off using it. I would say start off using it every third night, just to see, again, because if you never used it before, this powerful stuff. Even retinol can have a powerful reaction, and it's not like something permanent is going to happen to your face, but you're just going to be uncomfortable. You're going to look weird. You're going to be like peeling red-faced if you go overboard, right? So what I would say is I would start using this every third night. and you'll know very quickly within a couple of weeks if you can tolerate it. If you can tolerate it, then go to every other night or every night on the retinol. If you're tolerating that, then get a prescription for Retin-A and just keep ramping up until eventually you're at the strongest formulation of Retin-A. But I don't necessarily use Retin-A even after all this time every single night. So again, this is the way I would describe it to people, is it's like a tortoise and the hare situation here. And people who want to be like the hare and they just want to go as fast as possible or whatever, they're not going to end up getting often the result that they like, or it's going to aggravate their face or what have you. Whereas if you just think, okay, little improvements make a big difference. So if you were using a retinoid even once or twice a week, you're still, over time, it's going to have a very dramatic effect on your face. Now, I've given you one principle of retinoids is these are very powerful substances, right? Another principle is, and this was something it took me so long to get, I was a fucking idiot. It takes a while for these things to really work. I'm talking about the retinoids. I'm not talking some of the other stuff, you can see results more quickly, but it takes a while for these things to work. And when I first got my first Retin-A prescription, sorry, I don't know what that was about. Anyways, I got my first Retin-A prescription when I was a teenager because I had pretty bad acne. And the doctor told me this can take up to 6 months to see the full benefits of. Probably it will take more like 6 to 8 weeks, but it can take 6 months for you to see the real benefits of this. And being a stupid teenager who just was in, I don't know what I thought, like why I didn't believe him. I used it for, I would say 5, 6 days, maybe a week. And I got a little bit of irritation, but I saw no improvement and I stopped using it. And it took me several years for it to finally like dawn on me eventually, like, oh no, this is actually like a process that does take a while because there's a whole process that the retinoids trigger in the skin. And so initially it can even make things look worse. And so anyway, this is my point though. Like you really need to give it a solid 8 weeks before you try to judge whether you've seen any improvements. Now, people can see improvement a lot faster than that, but that's what I'm saying, though. It can take a while, and understand that. Okay. Now, the problem with, as I said, with retinoids is that they do cause exfoliation. They do cause peeling and flaking. And the less that you use, or the more that you space out applications and the weaker for the formulation that you use, then the less of those issues you're going to have. And so a lot of it is trial and error to get to a point of equilibrium that works for you. But I will say this, you are going to have to tolerate, probably, at least initially, some degree. Like I never get peeling anymore because I've been using these products for so long, but it did take me, I would say, a couple of years before like all the peeling like stopped. And I'm not talking about dramatic peeling. I'm just talking about every morning, like having to get up with a washcloth and kind of wipe some flakes away and stuff. So this is what I want to say. You do need to come up with a way to manage some degree of cell turnover and peeling and flaking. And so get a decent moisturizer there. And let me just say, there are lots of moisturizers that don't seem to do shit. I've tried a lot of them, and this stuff, I know it seems basic, but this Cetaphil is still the best moisturizer that I have found so far. Now, you all may have a moisturizer that you swear by, and you're like, no, this is this really works. And I have not tried all moisturizers, so you very well may be right. If you have a moisturizer that works for you, then great. But my experience with most moisturizers is that either they're really, really greasy and they don't get past that greasy stage. You go back and you touch your face 5 minutes later and it's still greasy. They don't really feel like they're absorbing, or the big problem is I didn't notice where once the product had evaporated or gone away, where it actually really made my skin softer. It felt like my skin basically had not become softer or retained moisture. This is one of the few products that I've used that I feel like really does all of those things. So just a Cetaphil, moisturizing lotion. I think they have a daily moisturizer too or whatever, but this is what I use. And I try to use it as thin a layer as possible if I'm putting it, because you can layer these products. And so you can layer a moisturizer on top of other things. But as you know, there is a certain logic would tell us that there is a certain sort of kind of mixing or dilution that occurs when you are putting products on top of each other. And so what I try to do if I'm layering is just take a little amount and just kind of barely wipe it into the surface, not really rubbing it or anything, right? Barely just applying it there and then letting it sit and see if that's good enough. But the main things that you're going to have to do to keep peeling and flaking at bay is you've got to have, yes, you need to moisturize, but you've also got to have a good exfoliation method. And I personally found that the good old-fashioned washcloth method worked great often. But as you know, there's other products. There's products with like, this has kind of gotten hard, but there's products with like granules in them, as you know, where, as you wipe the face, it's almost like kind of like sanding it, like sand, right? So you can get granular products that help to remove stuff. I think washcloth, good old fashioned washcloth. You don't have to tear at your face or whatever, right? But, isolating the points that have some peeling and stuff and just kind of wiping at it and then applying moisturizer, that really is going to help a lot. But the peeling and all that, it does get dramatically better after you have used retinols or Retinoid. Okay, so what does this stuff actually do? Is the last thing. It causes cell turnover and more turnover, faster turnover. So basically, you're sloughing off the dead skin cells a lot more and a lot faster. And so, and a lot of this is happening too at the microscopic level. So yeah, you might be seeing some peeling and some flaking, but what you're not seeing, and this is actually the dramatic effect, is what's going on at the microscopic level with basically the whole outer layer of your skin sloughing off, and then this new regenerated, fresher skin that's coming up behind it, right? And Retin-A also encourages collagen, the formation of collagen. And if you don't know, collagen is the primary substance or factor involved in skin looking fresh and moist and not wrinkled and not flabby or what have you, right? That is collagen. Now, there's also elastin, and this is something that is harder to treat because it is because your skin, it's harder to get at, so to speak. But there are products that help to do this, and of course, lasers. The benefit with laser procedures is that lasers are able to get beneath the surface level, right, of the skin and down a bit deeper, and also target things like regenerating collagen, strengthening elastin, and stuff like that. All right. So anyway, we'll talk about that in a moment. But basically, cell turnover, increased cell turnover, so it's much more fresh, and then collagen, which is like the big thing, right, in how youthful and fresh your skin looks, and wrinkles and sags and all of that. So this has been studied and around since the 70s, at least. It has been widely prescribed, widely studied. It is still regarded by dermatologists and skin clinicians, I'm talking about retinoids, as the most surefire or most dependable anti-aging skin product. So do I think that? I am really these days into growth factor and human sourced stem cell serums. And I think if I had to choose, I'll get to this in a moment, but I think if I had to choose a product between the Retin-A versus the stem cell human growth factor serums, I might go with these. And I'll tell you why in a little while. But you don't have to choose. You can do them both. That's the point. This does tend to be less expensive than this, but again, it depends on the product. It depends on if you've got like insurance and your doctor wrote your prescription and whatever. So these are all things you need to research yourself. Growth factor serums definitely are pricey. I believe that this bottle cost $190, and I get things for free. I get a huge discount, whatever. But I will say this, you can make this last 6 months easily. You can make this last 6 months easily. So if you think about 190 divided by 6, then it becomes then a little bit less crazy if you think about it that way, particularly with what people are willing to, throw away. And I understand it, but throw away on lattes and all kinds of stuff. So I am to the point now. I think we're at the midway point where I want to take a break. I need to take a little break. And having said that, also talking about lattes, I do appreciate any tips. My PayPal link is below in the description. I normally don't ask outright during a program for this, but I want to remind people that I am doing this just because my viewers have asked and not because it's going to do anything for me on the algorithm, that is for sure. But I'm happy to share my knowledge. But if you are getting something out of this and you appreciate the information, my PayPal link is below, and you can also leave a comment there on PayPal with your tip, and I will answer your questions, your queries, or read your comments if you want as well. But I'm going to step away now for about 10 minutes. I'm going to put on an old skincare video that I did, and it's not nearly as good. It's kind of annoying, but I'll put it on for you. Oops. Okay, I will be right back.
To get the best kind of vitamin D. And so I still go outside, I run, I take walks, I do all kinds of things outdoors, all right? But I'm just cognizant of the amount of sun that I'm getting on my face and my neck, and I try to limit it in a number of ways. The most obvious way is by wearing a hat, okay? And if you do wear a hat, understand that not all hats are the same. My guy, he will just wear, like, when he's outside for a long time or camping or whatever, he will wear at the beach, he'll just wear like a baseball cap. And I shouldn't get on his case, but I'm like, you realize that's not really doing anything for you. It's covering like this, like small, you've got all this light coming in all over here, right? He really loves to hear me say that. It's quite a joy for him to be with me on those occasions, I'm sure. But anyway, and so, I don't have anything against baseball caps, except they don't block the sun. So if you are going to be out in the sun for a while, then you do want to wear something that is wider brimmed, okay? And go on Amazon, go online, look, see if there's something that is aesthetically acceptable to you that gives you good coverage. I wear something, and I'll try to get a picture to put it up on the screen for you. I don't have it here with me, but I wear something that's almost kind of ridiculous looking. It's got this huge brim, but it also has this scarf that actually like covers the neck and like almost like the lower chin. And so it kind of looks like a Muslim hijab, which if I were Muslim and if I were, dressed appropriately, it wouldn't look strange, but it is kind of strange looking to just have, completely normal dress and exposed arms, and everything, and then just have this face covering. But I still wear it because it works. All right. So, sometimes your vanity in the short term, it overpowers your vanity in the long term. So I try to do it the other way around, where like, even though I might look like a fucking dork in the short term, that in the long term, I'm like, well, but I'm going to look better later on. So anyway, here's the point. Where am I going with all this? So want to have a good hat, okay? The other thing is you want to have decent sunglasses. And by decent sunglasses, I mean, have you ever noticed how a lot of sunglasses don't really provide much coverage? Like you got all this light coming in from the sides and stuff. And I know here's where I'm going to start sounding obsessive to some of you. But I'm just saying, you're going to be out in the sun long time, day at the beach or whatever. Particularly ladies, and I say that because we know that people recognize aging more on women. It's just a fact of life, actually. And you know what? Men also have 15% more collagen than women, which is another reason why men tend to look younger longer. All right, there have been studies that have been done on twins and people who have a similar genetic makeup. And you can even go online and you can Google twin sun exposure skin damage and probably find the picture. If I can find it, I'll put it up here. But you can see where one twin who spent her life in the sun is compared, okay, with the skin, the picture of the other twin who was sun avoidant and protected her sun and used sunscreen and all that. And it's very different. All right. So again, sun exposure, I think it's bigger from what I've read and observed. I think it's bigger than genetics. I think it's bigger than genes. But if not, we'll say 50-50, right? Nature versus nurture, who knows? I can tell you this, that when I was in high school, I got made fun of a lot for my pale skin.
And particularly because it was, remember, it was the 90s, and like tanning was the thing. Like the celebrities wanted to be real tan. You had the tanning beds and stuff, and people hadn't fully like gotten the message about tanning and tanning beds yet. I mean, they hadn't. Like this was really popular, and all of the pretty girls and popular girls in my high school, they tanned all the time. I went to a pretty affluent school, even though I myself, my family was not, but it was an affluent area, and so all these girls would go to the tanning beds all the time. And I get made fun of sometimes for being so pale. And then later when I got to college, I'd even have guys making fun of me sometimes. And I was like, well, that's not a really good way to flirt, but whatever. The point is, though, is that those girls that I knew, and I'm not saying this like gleefully, like, haha, fuck them, but just as a matter of fact, those girls who were uniformly to a girl, the ones that were doing the hardcore tanning, they look older than their age now. Now that we're hitting middle age, they look older than their age. Some of them significantly so, and I don't. And so that's, take it for what it's worth on that. Now I do want to say too, I don't want to make anybody feel bad if you've gotten too much sun or if you've gotten sun damage. Okay, look, we all make mistakes. I guarantee you, whatever mistakes you've made in your life when it comes to skincare, I've probably made worse when it comes to other things. Okay, and don't think that I'm the healthiest person either, because I've definitely gone through many periods in my life of unhealthy things. Okay, my point though is you can always start fresh, and at least you can mitigate the damage that you're doing to yourself. So look, if you're 50 years old and you've had a lifetime of sun, okay, I can't tell you a way to reverse all that damage, but what I can tell you is when you're 60 years old, when you're 70 years old, you're still going to care about your skin, so why don't you stop doing the damage? And then here's some things that I'm telling you about that you can do if you want, if you so desire, that you can do. So anyway, so yeah, good sunglasses, you want to wear your hat, and then you need your SPF, okay? Now, here's a few things. Not all SPFs, and you probably know this, not all SPFs are the same. There are, generally speaking, two different kinds of SPFs, two different classifications, right? There's your chemical sunscreens, and then there's your physical sunscreens. Physical sunscreens, particularly zinc oxide, are thought to be the healthiest. The zinc oxide is thought to be the healthiest sunscreen right now that you can get. Someone might quibble with me on that, but generally speaking, I think I've read that's the truth. And what I've found is that if I wear a sunscreen that has both a physical and a chemical component, then I get better coverage there. The problem with the chemicals is that, well, you can guess what the problem with the chemicals are, right? There's concerns of, cancer and hormones and all of that. It's supposed to be safe, right? It's just supposed to be safe. But I'm telling you, there's some doubt, as there always is with these things. So what I would say to you is, from what I have read, and my skincare doctor family member backs me up on this as well, is that the best chemical sunscreen right now, the one that is thought to have the least side effects and be the safest, is octinoate. So what you're looking for, ideally, is a sunscreen that contains both zinc oxide and octinoate. There are not a lot of products that just have those two, and so I'm going to tell you the two that I love and rely on, and these are, I've tried so many different kinds of sunscreen, all right, because this is one of those things I'm really interested in. It's my whole life I've been testing them out, and the two best that I've found are, the absolute best is Elta MD. Now, Elta MD makes a lot of different kinds of sunscreens and stuff, so you want this particular product that you see on the screen here. Okay, this provides you with plenty of SPF, and it contains zinc oxide and octinoate. And also, what I love about it, and this is another reason why it is my favorite sunscreen, is unlike a number of sunscreens, okay, this one, it doesn't make your face chalky. Okay, it doesn't make your face too greasy. Okay, it provides great coverage. It doesn't sting. It's just great. And so many sunscreens are not. Even if they're blocking the sun, they've got all these other issues, right? So this actually is called a daily moisturizing sunscreen, and that is because you wear this just like you would wear moisturizer. Okay, so you're going to put this on every day. Okay? I wear this when I cannot get this, because you have to order this online. And it's a tad pricier, although it's not, I don't think, too expensive. But when I cannot get a hold of this, of the Elta, then this is what I love. It's the Olay Complete. And I know that I was just, can you see this? I'm like holding it in the mirror. I guess I could hold it to the camera. Oh, look, there we go. The wonders of proper filmmaking. Okay. And so this is Olay Complete. And it is a moisturizer, but it contains sunscreen, SPF 15. And if you look at the back, then you see it's got retinoid and zinc oxide. Right now, this sunscreen is not as good as the Ulta, but I think that is the best thing that you can buy in a pharmacy or wherever. And I think it's better than fancier stuff too. Okay, so yeah, and you want a moisturizer because sunscreens do have a kind of a drying effect on the face, and also everybody should use a moisturizer every day anyway to keep the skin kind of supple. Moisturizer does not help with anti-aging, okay? But what it does is it gives your skin more moisture so that when you do laugh or smile or make facial expressions, right, it has less of an effect long-term on your skin. What do I mean by that? Well, here's what I mean. Let's say that this piece of paper, all right? Yes. Let's say that this piece of paper is your skin, okay? Now, if your skin is dry, if this piece of paper is dry, and I bend it or crease it, it's going to leave more of an indentation. However, if I were to take, see, we're doing like hardcore science experiments here. Who said that a skincare video cannot be educational? But if I wet it, the paper, right, and then I crease it, when I uncrease it, yes, there's a bit of an indentation, but much less. Well, that's your skin. It's the same way. That's why you want to drink lots of water, and that's why you want to use a daily moisturizer of some kind or a sunscreen that has moisturizer in it, okay, is because it helps when you make those facial expressions and whatever. You're not leaving as much of an indentation. Okay, so there's a good lesson for you. All right, so I wear sunscreen every day that I go outside. If it's supposedly you can even get UV damage when it's cloudy, although I do slack off on cloudy days because I'm not that fucking obsessive, okay? I do have some lines that I've drawn for myself of things that I'm not going to worry about, right? And so on cloudy days, I let it slide. But in general, you wear the sunscreen, or ideally a moisturizing sunscreen, like I've talked about. You wear it every day, and then you can put makeup on over that. Although I know that some makeup has SPF in it, so that's another direction you can go as well. I just haven't researched that as much. All right, so that's the basic, right? Now here's why sun avoidance and sun protection, particularly on the face and the neck, okay, that I'm focusing on. Here's why it's so important, is because sun damage, sun exposure is at least 50% of skin aging, all right? Yes, aging is a chronological thing as well. I understand that. You could have the best skincare routine in the world and never go out in the sun, and when you get to be 100, you're not going to
All right, I'm back. I wanted to say some stuff about sunscreen now. A couple of things. Let's start with the hats, actually. I feel like since I made that video, I feel like there have been a lot of better options that I have seen, like just even on Amazon clothing, better options that I've seen hat-wise that have come out in the last several years. But it's a little bit clunky, I know, because if you go outside, like I have different kinds of hats that I wear, or sometimes if I just don't even want to mess with hats, I'll take like just a light jacket or shirt, and I'll just drape it. If I'm taking a walk, I'll drape it over my face. And of course I look like a weirdo walking around, but it's like, what do I care? I'm used to looking like a weirdo on YouTube all the time. But my point is, if you go on Amazon and you look up different types of hats, there are even like some cool like fisherman hats setups. And what I mean by that is like there's the hat, but then there's like this cloth that like comes over the face and then around the back. So I mean, it's possible now to go out for a day at the beach or at the lake or whatever, or even just, walk around your block if you don't give a shit like me, and to be more or less completely like covered. So again, that may be too much for some people, but I do like having the protection of a hat and a pretty full coverage hat. at the same time that I'm also using some kind of SPF on my face. Now, you might say, doesn't that seem like overkill? Why do you need both? Well, again, you don't need anything, I guess. But the thing is, y'all, is that a hat only blocks, generally speaking, a certain amount of sun, unless you're using like a full get up that I'm talking about that's blocking it from all angles. Most of you, when you're wearing a hat, you're still getting all of the sunshine that's reflecting off of whatever surface you're standing on. Did you know that concrete and asphalt reflect at least 50% of the light that they get, of the UV that they get back up? So if you're standing, say you got a hat on, but you're standing on concrete, say in a parking lot, or you're taking a walk or something, then you are getting still, you're still getting a ton of that reflected up back at you, right? And the hat is not covering that. And of course, you know, too, when you're walking around, a lot of the time, depending on the position of the sun, the hat is not blocking much. So that's why I always wear the SPF as well. And I've done experiments even with that, where I've gone out before for a walk just wearing a hat and sunglasses and gotten a very visible tan. Whereas if I go out on a walk with the SPF on, then I don't get a tan, or if I do, it's very, very slight. Now, I had a question from someone. Someone was asking me again about SPF, and they said the SPF makes my skin sting. I hate the way that it makes me feel when I put sunscreen on. And I feel like, don't you think SPF is basically just kind of a racket? I understand that perspective. I have seen that perspective online. I have seen people who are really into like hardcore healthy living, organic living, whatever term you want to use. I've seen them talking about how SPF, just sunscreen, just has all these bad chemicals in it, and that sun is good for you, blah, 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 blah. And so again, what I'll say is what I said earlier, is that sun has a very well-studied, discernible effect on the skin that we would consider to be negative, that you really only need 10 minutes of sun exposure. It doesn't even have to be on your face, by the way. It can be other parts of your body. You really only need 10 minutes of that a day. Anything beyond that is not needed. And then also there is an argument, and it's not just Brian Johnson, but it's many others who are making it. I saw someone a year or two ago on Joe Rogan's show, a doctor talking about this, that actually solar radiation might be a bad thing as well. And that excessive exposure to solar radiation, it's radiation, might not be so good for us. And so again, what I would say is it's probably a good thing to protect yourself from the sun, but also I can't vouch, and no one can look you in the face with a straight face and vouch for any chemicals in anything today. We can't. So to a degree, it's a roll of the dice. And I've joked around before at times when I put sunscreen on, and I've joked around with my significant other. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably just putting cancer on my face. And it's not entirely a joke, right? I mean, we don't know. I tend to think that zinc oxide, for example, and a number of the mineral sunscreens are safe, and that studies continue to indicate that they are, and that there are certain chemical sunscreens that are probably fairly safe, and maybe some that aren't so much. So this is where I would advise everyone to do their own research. But where I've come down on it is that I will either use a totally mineral sunscreen, like totally zinc oxide. There's some new stuff, by the way, newer stuff that European sunscreens are using, and I've just started looking into that. So if you're really into researching this, you might look into European sunscreens as well. But I think either go for a mineral, like zinc oxide, totally mineral sunscreen. The only downside with a totally mineral sunscreen is that they can be chalkier. They can be more difficult to apply because it's a physical sunscreen. So you're like it's a physical barrier, as opposed to a chemical sunscreen, which absorbs more, rubs in more easily, tends to have a better texture. And so that's why I use like the Olay and the Olay moisturizing sunscreen, because it's got both of those in there. But again, you got to look into it yourself. But if you put a gun to my head and you said to me, what is your honest opinion on sunscreens? I would say that my bet is that they are beneficial, and that they are rarely not beneficial, particularly using the safer ones. And that the sun definitely causes significant aging. And so it's also a question of like taking the risk of not entirely knowing what a chemical is doing, but also seeing the way every day your face is aging and not liking that, that's the thing. It's almost like taking a morality class and like an ethics course, a philosophy ethics course. I would love to see someone teach. I actually have a friend who's a philosophy professor. So Kelly, if you ever see this, I would love to see someone teach a philosophy and an ethics of aging. And I know that there are people studying this, right? But an ethics of aging course when it comes to like skincare and these types of questions about the ethics of these types of bets that we make, right? Because we make bets like this in all kinds of areas of our lives. I mean, sugar, which I eat way too much of, sugar is over time, it's toxic, right? And so again, I don't know. Anyways, I've gone far astray of the original question. And so if I had to recommend something, I'm still using this as it stands. This is still what I put on my face every day. And sunscreen and moisturizer are your last two steps. So I will use other things. I'm going to tell you my regimen in just a minute. We're getting there. But yeah, this is what I use. And I use a sensitive skin formulation, but it's Olay and it's got the SPF 15. And look, here's the other thing. And this is another example of where I could be more obsessive about my skin, but I'm not. And again, we all have to draw our own lines. I generally don't wear more than an SPF 15 unless I'm going to the beach, which I never do, but unless I'm going to be like really out, I don't wear more than an SPF 15. Sometimes if I'm using the Ulta MD, I guess that's an SPF 30. I'll wear that, but I don't do high SPFs. And why is that? Because as y'all know, the higher the SPF, the more annoying it is. So if you've got a little bit of chemical in the sunscreen, then it's not going to sting so much. This thing rarely stings me. Occasionally it will if I've like been using too much of some kind of product, or I've recently done like a peel on my face, or I've been sweating a lot. And so too much of it is getting into my skin. This will sting, but most of the time it doesn't. But if I use a product with a higher SPF, it's a chemical sunscreen, as y'all know, yeah, it will sting the hell out of your face. So to that lady who said to me, I don't know what to do because sunscreens sting, I would say try it. First of all, try a physical sunscreen like the Ulta MD. It makes a completely physical sunscreen. Try that. See what you think of that. And then also try just a very low formulation like this sunscreen with chemical in it, and you might be able to tolerate that better. But yeah, no, I know we're not yet to a great place with sunscreens. I feel like there's like another step beyond this where they become a lot more sophisticated, and we're just not there yet. But anyway, okay. What else? I'm trying to think if there's anything else about the sunscreens or the retinoids. Let's talk about, I'm going to introduce my next product, and let's talk about how to properly apply things, because there are ways in which you can apply topicals, creams, serums, whatever. There are ways in which you can apply topicals to the face where much more of those topicals will absorb and the effects will be more dramatic. And also you can use less of the topicals, which will save you money. And so one way that, like this, I was telling you that this is the Antiage MD serum. This is growth factor and human sourced stem cell conditioned media serum. Yeah, what the fuck does that mean? I'll explain. But this stuff runs like, depending on the site, maybe 175 to 190, which yes, is very expensive. Now I'm lucky. I get this stuff, generally speaking, for free, like for Christmas, and I make it last. And so I can take a bottle like this and I can make it last 6 months, no problem. And if I had to, I could probably make it last a year if I had to, using more sparingly and with a kind of a method that I'm going to show you in a minute. So that's one thing to think about when it comes to budget considerations, is if some people, they just can't afford this shit. And so they shouldn't even be entertaining the idea, right? But some people might be more on the borderline where it's like, this is definitely an extravagance for me and my budget. Is there a way in which I can use this product though, where it's something that will be economical? And that's, so anyway, okay. So here's our next type of product. And this for me is my favorite type of product. Now it has supplanted uprooted the retinoid as I think the most effective product, just from my own personal experience. And I'll talk about why in a moment. But it also has studies and some science behind it. Anyway, so we're talking about human sourced stem cell conditioned media. What the hell is that? Well, basically, what happens is this company, and by the way, there are different types of human sourced stem cell conditioned media. And so, for instance, if you use the very popular TNS serum, the Skin Medica TNS serum, then I don't know, and at least until recently, that came from a baby's foreskin. Can I even say that? And you might be like, what? And so look it up. I'm not going to follow that trail any further, but look it up. It's a great serum though, and I have used it before. It's a little bit more complicated than what I just said there. Okay, I was being a little dramatic, but you can, in your spare time, you can look it up and you can see where the baby thing comes into it. No, it's nothing nefarious or gross or anything. But anyway, here's the point. This stuff, antiage, it comes from bone marrow. And so they get stem cells from bone marrow from healthy subjects that they have kidnapped. No, wait a minute. They get bone marrow from healthy, youthful subjects, and the stem cells are isolated from this bone marrow. And there are no stem cells in here. You can't get stem cells from that to that and then into your face in a topical cream, which is not there yet, right? But what they do is they take these stem cells and then they basically kind of soak them in this, or they create this kind of, they call it conditioned media. They create this kind of petri dish, and basically then they kind of soak these things. This is a really scientific explanation, I know, but this is what basically happens in layman's terms. They basically kind of soak these things in this like petri dish this substance. And then some of that substance that has been conditioned by the stem cells, or has basically, in layman's terms, metaphorically, sort of soaked with these stem cells, some of the stuff in the petri dish, so to speak, is then put into this formulation. Now, you might say, what the hell? That sounds insane. But actually, what researchers have found is that if you put stem cell conditioned media, which is what they call it, if you put that on your skin, then it actually has an effect of basically communicating with your cells at a cellular level beneath the skin, communicating with your skin and causing that skin to behave differently. I know it sounds like science fiction, but this is what it does. And so through that process, then they come up with these serums. That's the science. I put in layman's terms, of course. You can actually look up the real explanation. Now, I thought that this was probably bullshit initially, because my orientation toward every new product in skincare is that it's probably bullshit for some reason. I guess because there have been so many bullshit products and so many bullshit claims. I feel like the science of skincare is getting better, but it used to be, particularly when I was younger, it used to be that if you went into a pharmacy or a Dillard's or Bloomingdale's or whatever, there were just no legit skincare products. It was basically just all different versions of creams that would just do nothing but just kind of barely hydrate the skin. And what has happened is that skincare has gotten, over the last 15 years, even 5 years, it's gotten a lot more sophisticated, and it has, as I said, filtered down more to the masses. And so there's much more of a market for it. So you are seeing in pharmacies, for instance, some products, still not a lot, but some products that do have, like retinol, that have retinol in it, and more sort of sophisticated traces of certain products, right? But this is the real deal. These types of products here, these are the real deal. And how did I stumble upon this? I originally thought it was bullshit. And I was just totally, and still am, but I was totally in love with Retin-A. And I've been using Retin-A for years. This was, by the way, in my early 30s. I'd been using Retin-A for years, and the results with Retin-A, once it really does kick in, are just so dramatic that I don't even have to describe it or explain it. Like you use it long enough and you will see it. Unless you're one of the minority of people whose skin, I guess it doesn't have an effect on. I'm not saying it's impossible, or people who can't tolerate it, but alas. But I was in love with this product, and so I wasn't even interested in anything else. And my father-in-law mentioned to me one day, or I think I asked him, I was like, well, I love Retin-A. And at that point I'd started doing IPL lasers, which I don't get IPLs anymore. I'm going to talk about lasers last thing in a moment. I don't get IPLs anymore, but I was really into IPL lasers. And so anyway, I asked him, is there anything, kind of offhand, I was like, is there anything that I'm not doing that I could be doing that really gives results? Because he knows that I'm not into BS. Like haven't even talked about cleansers, and I'm not going to talk about cleansers. Why? Because I don't think it really matters much one way or the other. You know, you need to get your skin clean. And by the way, you should be cleansing at the end of the day at least 2 times. That is a rule of thumb. I'll talk more about cleansers in a moment, but I don't spend a lot of time on stuff like that because I don't think it's that important. This stuff that really has an effect, we're talking about retinoids and stem cell creams and stuff, lasers, right? So I asked him, so he knows that I'm really like no bullshit about these things. And I said, you know, is there anything I could be doing that I'm not doing? Just kind of offhand, you know. And he said, well, actually, you could give growth factors a try. And so and growth factors are another term for these types of serums. And so anyway, so I tried it, and here's the point. I have had adult acne. I've had acne my entire life up to this point. I was in my early to mid 30s. I had adult acne my entire life. And of course, it had been, when I was a teenager, it had been worse. I had teenage acne, and I had it so bad that I had gotten on Accutane, which, by the way, Accutane absolutely works and can do wonders for the skin. It's just a more hyped up version or amped up version of vitamin A, right? So Accutane is in a similar family to the retinoids, by the way. It's doing similar things to the retinoids. It's just that Accutane is so much more potent, right? But anyway, I ended up getting on Accutane, which did make my acne go away briefly. But if you've done Accutane, you know that eventually the acne can come back. Sometimes it totally clears it up and it never comes back, but oftentimes it will come back. And that's why people will at times have to microdose Accutane, like Amber Heard. I remember she was microdosing her Accutane. But anyway, so I did Accutane in my late teens. My acne briefly went away, and then it came back, and I did Accutane one more time. And of course, the second time you do something, as with everything, it's less effective. And so the acne went away, but it came back quicker than before. And so I just kind of gave up, and I was like, well, I'm doing the Retin-A, and the Retin-A was helping. It definitely did help the acne a lot. But I was doing the Retin-A and the lasers. And so basically I was just like, there's nothing else I can do. And I just accepted. And so when the acne continued, and it wasn't giant, big, I know, embarrassing, you know, pustules like some people have to deal with. I have such compassion for that. But it was just a lot of little bumps all over the face. And it was just annoying. And I just didn't like it. And also, if someone would get too close, you know, from a distance, my skin, especially with the Retin-A, it looked good. It was glowing, and you know, no lines or anything like that, right? But then you get closer and you'd still see some of these bumps. Anyway, here's the point. Within 1 week of doing this stuff, my adult acne had entirely disappeared. And I wasn't even expecting this shit to do anything. And it was gone within 1 week. And I was in my like 30s at that point, I guess, right? Yeah. Well into my 30s, mid 30s. At that point, when I started using growth factors, within 1 week, this acne that I had never gotten to go away except briefly with Accutane, you know, really harsh substance. Within 1 week, it was gone. And so, and stayed gone. You know, every now and then I'll get a little bump or something, or if I sleep in my makeup or what have you, right? But totally different skin texture. And so you might say, well, maybe it's a coincidence. You know, part of me wondered if, okay, maybe I was just finally hitting an age where my face was finally drying up. And so, you know, finally it wasn't going to be as oily. Maybe that was why, and what have you. And so, anyway, but something happened. I ended up running out of this stuff. And it's not as easy as just going to your pharmacy or going to your local store to get this, because they only sell the amped up MD version through provider, although you can get an online version that is half as strong, and it's still, because I've used it before, it still works. So I'll talk about the types in a minute. But anyway, here's the point though. It took me like a week or so to get this, and my acne returned. It returned within a week. I was starting to see all of these little bumps coming back again, and like the annoying bumps. It may have even been 2 weeks that for whatever reason I didn't get more of this product. My adult acne returned. And then guess what? I started using it, and within 1 week, adult acne gone. Dude, I don't know what else to say, but that something is fucking doing something, apparently, if it's having that effect. So this stuff definitely does something. Now, that's not to say that maybe with the particulars of someone else's biology, skin, I don't know, maybe it won't do as much. But for me, it is like I've proven that these two things I have seen that when I'm on them, dramatically good things happen with my skin. And when I'm off them, bad things happen with my skin. So, I mean, I know that's like a scientific analysis or whatever, but okay. So this is what I would go with, but there are other kinds. There is the very popular TNS serum, and I have the Skin Medica stuff, and I have tried that before, and it does work. I would say that I feel like it works about half as well as the Anti-Age MD, and about as well as the Anti-Age just regular over the counter, so to speak. And you have to go to their website, the Anti-Age website. You have to go to their website to order any of their products. But the stuff that you have to go through a provider for, it is twice as strong. So basically, in my mind, probably the TNS Skin Medica version and the Anti-Age publicly available version, I think probably are the same. And so if you can, though, I would definitely advise trying to get this through a provider. And it's not like going through insurance or something like complicated. Basically, most of the time, you don't even have to go in and make an appointment with the provider. You just go to their spa or their clinic during office hours, and you walk in and you ask the secretary or the receptionist or whatever, you ask her if you can purchase some Anti-Age MD. Do you carry Anti-Age MD? Can I purchase it? Sometimes they'll even mail it to you if you just call them. So it really shouldn't be a thing of like, I can't get this stuff because I'm going to have to go through this whole thing of like making an appointment and all that. Like it at a lot of these places, it shouldn't be complicated like that. So that's an FYI. Also, I have found where you can buy this. You can buy this without even going through a doctor. And I just stumbled across this, and I did order some, and it came and it was legit. So I don't know how long that's going to last, but let me show you. It was the Skin Elite website. Just a second. I'll bring it up. And like I said, I had never seen before a place or an online outlet where you could, just a second, where you could buy the Anti-Age MD stuff without having to go through a provider. But so far, they are selling it. So this is it. It's skinelite.com. See this? Yeah. So it's skinelite.com. And if I search for Anti-Age, there we go. Wait. It was just there. I saw it. Aha, here we go. So, okay. So this is it. Now they sell it. Oops, I'm sorry. They sell it alone, or they sell it with an accelerator, and the accelerator is good stuff, but the accelerator is not the main thing. And so again, if you don't have money for the package deal, the accelerator has a retinoid in it. It's got something called bakuchiol, and bakuchiol, by the way, if you don't know, bakuchiol is a retinoid alternative that is thought to be half as strong as retinol. So we're talking about something that is significantly weaker than any retinoid products, but still probably does something. And but it doesn't have apparently the irritating effects that a retinoid can have. And so if you've ever used a bakuchiol product before and you want to know if it's legit, it is legit. It's just a lot weaker than the retinoids. And it's thought that that bakuchiol is half as strong as even a retinol. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. But my point is that the accelerator, the anti-age accelerator, it has all kinds of like cool things in it, like bakuchiol. It's got, I believe, some additional growth factors, and I think it also has a what's known as a defensin, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. It's which I have in my Defensins product. But anyway, the point is, like, the accelerator, if you have the money for it, it definitely does shit, and it's definitely got some cool stuff in it. But the main thing that you're wanting, what I'm talking about, and they even say this on the website, if you have to choose between these products, the main thing that you're wanting is the serum, because that's the one that's going to be packed with that the human conditioned stem cell media, the stem cell conditioned media, and also, you know, the growth factors. So, okay. Anyway, so while supplies last, you can go to Skin Elite and you can find these products. Now, I want to say one more thing before we move on from the human sourced stem cell creams. Unfortunately, two more things. Unfortunately, the plant sourced stem cell creams don't do anything, really. They don't. So a lot of you, if you have a product that says stem cell cream, or that or a moisturizer or a serum that touts having stem cell stuff in it, you might actually have a plant stem cell product. And because unfortunately the cheaper products, even the Obagi, like, look, Obagi products can be really good. I've got this vitamin C serum that I think is the real deal. It certainly irritates my face and smells like I've got an orange under my nose for hours. But Obagi, they can have some great products, but as far as I know, last time I checked, their stem cell cream, it's plant stem cells. So those are not going to do anything for you. Those creams will have some good antioxidants and stuff like that. Like, they're not going to hurt you, but plant stem cell creams are not going to do what I'm talking about here, this kind of dramatic effect, because we're not plants. And so the plant stuff doesn't work for us. That's why we need the human conditioned media, the human stem cell conditioned media, whether we're talking about bone marrow or foreskin or some of the other things. There's other kinds out there. Okay. What was I gonna say? Oh, and so that one thing. The other thing is, if you or your husband are having hair issues with hair thinning, I can attest that there is a similar product. It is an anti-age MD. I think you can buy it at that Skin Elite site too, actually, at least right now. But there's an anti-age MD stem cell conditioned media serum for the hair. And it is different than the one for the face, because hair and face, skin and hair are different things, right? And so the face one's not going to work for the hair and vice versa. But they actually do make this hair serum, and it does work. I've tried it with my guy. I didn't think it was going to work because, again, I don't know. My orientation is always that everything is a scam until it works. But it's undeniable that he has grown new hair and thicker hair, and his scalp looks different. He looks like he has more hair, and I wasn't expecting it to work. And so now people can have very varied results with this. My mom claims that she tried this and saw no effect. My mom's not always the best about actually following through with things. I don't know about that. But there are definitely, if you go on the Reddit boards or whatever, there are definitely tons of people saying, I tried this and it didn't do shit for me. Okay. But I can just tell you that the same science that is behind this is behind the hair stuff, and that I have seen it work, and that also a friend of mine has tried it and he has seen that it works. He was posting pictures on Instagram, and it is much more effective too if you do it with microneedling, and that's a whole other thing. But if you go to the skin doctor, or the dermatologist, or whatever, wherever you go, they have what's known as a microneedling tool, and it's actually has these little needles that stick into your skin, into your scalp. They do numb if you do it on your face, or if you do it on your scalp, they do numb it. So it's still a little painful, but it's not, unbearable or whatever, right? It's okay. But they stick all of these little like micro piercings, and then they put the product in, and the product absorbs then much more deeply into your scalp or into your skin. That's the thinking, by the way, with even these home microneedling stamp tools, which Antiage also sells with some of its products, is that what you're doing is you're creating little micro channels in the skin so that the product can actually penetrate more deeply and more easily. You just don't want to overuse this stuff, because if you're constantly punching up your skin, or if you're getting too many microneedling treatments, I mean, if you're getting microneedling, you want to space it out at least every month, right? If you're doing a professional microneedle, or if you're doing this to yourself, I never do this more than once a week, because you don't want to be just constantly puncturing your skin. And also, not all tools are made the same. There are some tools that dermatologists like better than others. The stamp design seems to be better than the roller. The roller seems to actually do more damage to the skin, a bit more problematic. So if you want to get the stamp instead of the roller. But the idea is that if you use this, say, I would recommend, like, say, once every 2 weeks, or once every week is what I do. But again, individual thing. But the idea is that you do this, and then you have your product that you put on, and it absorbs more into the skin. And also that when you create these little micro injuries, it's also stimulating the production of a bit more collagen. And so there's science behind these things. And anyway, so that's just a little aside about the hair. It works, at least it's supposed to work for women too. I'm going to start trying it, even though I don't have an issue with thinning hair, but ladies, as you know, as we age, we all lose some hair, right? So I'm going to give it a shot. But I've definitely seen it work on them, and they're not paying me anything. And I'm just sharing information with you. But I've definitely seen it work on my guy. So yeah, so look into that. Again, I know these are expensive products, and you can only do what you can do. And but there are ways to apply them to where you will absorb more. All right, so here's my secret to the proper application of things. And it's not a secret. It's something that I learned from my father-in-law, but you can look it up online too. And even on some of the manuals with these serums and stuff, they'll say, like, this is the best way to apply it. So this is what you do. I have a little bit of water. One second. First of all, if you're going to cleanse your face, which you should, you do that first. As I said, you want to cleanse twice, especially at the end of the day, because it's just like if you're washing dishes or you're washing a car. You know that the first cleanse generally it does something, but it generally leaves some residue, right? So you want to do, particularly at the end of the day, you want to do a second cleanse. Because I always have products on my face and stuff, I'm always doing a double cleanse whenever I cleanse at the beginning or end of the day. But anyway, once your face has been cleansed and you have thoroughly washed off the cleanser, and by the way, also, you want to try to avoid cleansers with vitamin C in them, because vitamin C, yes, it's good for your skin, but also it can interact negatively with certain things like these serums. These human-sourced stem cell serums are very sensitive to a degree. And so vitamin C, for some reason, is not supposed to interact very well with them. It's certainly cool to do vitamin C applications, such as like with this Obagi vitamin C serum. And this is one of the major products that people want to have. So like I said, one is a retinoid, one is a human-sourced stem cell cream. Another is a good vitamin C serum, but you don't need to use this every day. I'll use my vitamin C serum like once a week. And by the way, understand too that not all vitamin C serums are equal. They do need to be packaged properly and stored properly. And because vitamin C itself is rather unstable in this formulation. So I think that the Obagi Professional C Serum, I think, is packaged well, and it needs to smell like vitamin C. It needs to feel and smell really like strong and acidic. And so anyway, it's something to keep in mind. But anyway, here's the point though. Keep the vitamin C out of your cleanser and make sure that you cleanse well, and then you fully wash off, fully rinse off any cleanser so that the cleanser doesn't interact with or interfere with products that you're going to be putting on your face, right? I used to be terrible about this. I would cleanse once. I was lazy, so I would barely even cleanse. I mean, I would just like put a bunch of cleanser on my face, sort of barely like even wash it off adequately or whatever. And then I would slop on my retinoid. And the retinoid was strong enough that it would still do something, right? But still, I'm just thinking like I wasn't even getting all of the dirt off or the makeup, and then I'm leaving cleanser on there. Like it's a wonder any product even worked on my face. But anyway, I'm much better about that now. Anyway, so I'm going to show you how to properly apply these products. So you want to get your fingers. I just dipped my fingers in this water. Obviously, if you're at a sink, that's what you're going to do. And you just want to get your hands and fingers a bit wet. And by the way, you also, when you cleanse your face, it is ideal if you actually leave your face kind of damp after you have rinsed, because the more damp your face is, the more permeable your skin is going to be when it comes to product and absorbing product. And so this is why often if someone is having a problem with too much, with a strong reaction like to a retinoid, then their doctor might tell them, well, make sure that your face is totally dry before you apply this product, because if it's wet, if it's damp, you'll get more of this product absorbed in it, right? But we want the maximum amount of product to be absorbed. So I will sort of dab my face after I get out of the shower or after I wash and rinse my face. I'll kind of dab it to where it's just kind of damp, may even kind of just spread on my, God, there's a train and it's so annoying. So annoying. Anyways, so you want your face to be a bit damp, and then you want your fingers to be wet, okay? And then what you'll do is you will put a tiny amount of product, I'm talking like tiny, on your fingertips. Okay. This product evaporates really fast too, so you'll see that. You have to be kind of quick about it. But look, that's not even much product, right? We're talking a tiny amount of product on my wet fingers. All right, then I'm going to just kind of do this. You can also just put one larger dab on one finger and then just kind of tap your fingers through. But the point is you got the product now on all of your fingers, and you're just going to do this like flutter. And then after you've done this flutter pattern all over your face and neck, and you always do your neck, y'all. You treat the neck just like the face, you always. But you do this flutter pattern, and then, because again, your face is kind of damp, your fingers should be kind of wet, then you just start lightly massaging in, and you're not like trying to like hardcore massage it, grind it into your face. It's more like you're just trying to distribute it all over the surface of the face. And then I'll follow with pressing each area just once, just to kind of press it into the face. Okay, so let me show you one more time. So you can see how if you're applying it that way, then you can make something like this last a long time. Like I said, I have no problem using this once a day in the method that I've just shown you, getting this to last 6 months, right? Now, if you've got the money, some people love to use this twice a day. If I can't afford to, right? Even I don't get that much free stuff, right? And so I don't use it twice a day usually. But you can use this, twice a day and see even more dramatic results. So this is the last type of product. So far, we've talked about the retinoids. We've talked about the human-sourced stem cell creams. We've talked about vitamin C. By the way, the two really important vitamins in your skin and in the formation of collagen, your skin health and formation of collagen, right? Vitamin A, like the retinoids, right? And then vitamin C. So you need to be eating enough vitamin C too. as well. As well. So you need to be, fruits, vegetables. The food that has the highest content of vitamin C is actually bell peppers, specifically red bell peppers. So if you are the type of person like I am who has trouble getting the kind of vitamin content that you need or that you'd like to have, particularly like with vitamin C, then actually just try to integrate bell peppers into your cooking just a bit or into your eating, because like half a red bell pepper has the same vitamin C content as an orange. So you think about that. It's really not that tough to eat a little bit of bell pepper. Anyways, so we've talked about all these products. This is the newest one that I've started using. This is the Defensins 8-in-1 Bioserum. And it contains a fairly new product called Defensins, and also the number of other ingredients like nicotinamide. I can never pronounce it very well. It's hold on a second. Nicotinamide. You know what I'm talking about? Nicotinamide. There we go. It contains nicotinamide, which is a product that you're seeing more and more in lots of different skincare lines, because it can create conditions favorable to the production of additional collagen. There we go, with collagen again. And can also help with skin inflammation, range of other issues, and has antioxidant properties. And so these are two new ingredients, or not new ingredients, but these are two ingredients that I had not up until recently really been focused on or had integrated into my skincare, but I've been seeing them talked about more and more online. And this was something that my father-in-law brought to my attention recently, was that he had seen some really excellent research on this, surrounding this. Now this is the MD version again. So what I was saying earlier about the antiage MD version goes for this as well. You can get a less strong version of this, a less powerful version of this online, no problem, through the Defensins website. There we go. You'll see that? Yeah, there we go. Through the Defensins website, and that's sold in purple. So if you get the purple one, then that's the less powerful version, but still very good. The silver line, the silver platinum line or whatever, this is just through a provider. So as with all these things, what you want to do is you want to go to the website, and they will have a place where you can put in your zip code, and then they will give you a list of providers in your area. And then you can contact those providers and may even just be able to call them and get them to ship you a product. Now, like I said, that Skin Elite website, it does have anti-age products, MD products right now. So you can go on there and you can get this stuff without having to go through a doctor if you go to the Skin Elite website. I do not think, last time I looked, that they have this Defensins stuff. I'm looking right now. Yeah, no, they don't. So that's one that you'll have to go to the Defensins website. Oops. You'll have to go to the Defensins website, and you'll have to look that up. Something else too. When I was talking about moisturizers earlier, this is a really good moisturizer as well that I found, and you might want to try this if you want something that's a little bit fancier, perhaps. I still think the Cetaphil is the best, but this is something that's kind of cool. It is SkinCeuticals Triple Lipid Restore, and it's got 2% ceramides, 4% cholesterol, 2% fatty acids, and it describes itself as an anti-aging lipid replenishment treatment. Now, basically, what I was told is that this tries to mimic the sort of outer layer of your skin in terms of like the texture or the composition of its natural replenishment mechanisms. And so like the ceramides, the cholesterol, the fatty acids in this, they're basically trying to mimic like what the conditions of your skin would be if your skin was properly hydrated, that it would be producing these things, or it would have these things, right? And so that was, I thought, was kind of cool. I tried this, And I felt like it was on par with the Cetaphil in terms of absorbing fast, not being greasy, and also that my skin felt soft, felt like it had retained moisture after applying this. So if you want to try something like a little like fancier, it's the SkinCeuticals Triple Lipid Restore, and it does have a really nice smell. It is one of those products where every time I open it up and I smell it, I'm like, man, that smells good. All right, y'all. We are an hour and 50 minutes into this, and I am going to have to go to work. So, what I have left out, what we have not gotten to, is the laser stuff, unfortunately, alas. So, let me say a few things very quickly about the lasers, and then hopefully I can follow up on another occasion. But just to repeat the products that we've talked about, all right, that I think would be worth a look on your part. Some kind of retinoid, start with a retinol, maybe the SkinCeuticals 1%, then get into a low dose prescription retin-A and work your way up from there. Remember, gel tends to be stronger than cream, but all of these things are good. And if you want something that will have a really powerful bang at the outset, you can try to do tazarotene, but it is so strong and it will cause so much irritation. So beware on that one. But that is an option if you want to try to ramp up your skincare really fast. You can go the tazarotene route and maybe start with a low dose formulation on that. Then, as I said, we've got the human sourced stem cell conditioned media creams. They contain stem cell cytokines, as they're called, which cytokines can be good or bad, but these are the good kinds and specifically targeted toward skin, and really great growth factors. And again, what these things do is they communicate with the deeper levels of the skin and cause the skin to start creating more collagen and start creating like stronger structures within the skin and behaving in a generally like healthier, stronger fashion. As I said, cured my adult acne when nothing, not even retinoids or lasers, could totally do it. As I said, Antiage EMD through a provider, look it up, is the best kind, but you can also right now get it on Skin Elite website without a doctor, and powerful stuff. The hair care also, again, they're not paying me here. I just believe in it. This stuff works particularly if you can get in to see a doctor who will do microneedling. With both of these, you can do microneedling where they microneedle the skin and then they take this anti-age stuff and they apply it to the scalp or to the face, and much more of it then is absorbed. So I've gotten microneedling before. That's an alternative to lasers as well, is a good microneedling procedure at your dermatologist or at your skincare office, followed by the application of a good human sourced growth factor stem cell cream or hair product. Okay. Also, I said TNS, Skin Medica, also a good human sourced stem cell growth factor cream. And then lastly, we've got, and then I talked about, the vitamin C, getting a good vitamin C product, research it. It's not the most stable product, vitamin C, and so packaging matters, formulation matters, things like that. Again, Reddit is a great place to look into all this. Tons of very well-educated ladies, more educated than me on this stuff, talking about these things. But you have to take everything with a grain of salt because everybody's got their own individual experience and perspective. There are some people online who tried this product and claimed that nothing happened for them, whereas I'm absolutely convinced that it cured my acne, right? Like I told you. Every time I get off of it, the acne comes back. Every time I get on it, the acne goes away. Like it's clearly doing something for me, but some others might say no. And then, yes, the Defensin 8-in-1 bioserum. It's got acotamide and Defensins and all kinds of cool stuff. Now, earlier, remember when I mentioned that there was an accelerator product that Antiage had, the serum like this, and then there was an accelerator, and the accelerator had a retinol type substance, the bakuchiol, weaker than retinol, but does something, and then some growth factors, and it also has a defensin in it. So the accelerator of the anti-age product does have a defensin in it similar to what the Defenage has, but the Defenage is stronger, more powerful defensin. So again, like some of these products, they're doing the same things, right? It's just different formulations, different strengths. But I think this is, and we'll see how it performs. I'm only a month or so into it, but I think that this seems to be packed with a lot of cool stuff. Some people do have a reaction to the nicotinamide or whatever it is. It can have a histamine response. So if you try a product with nicotinamide in it, and then you notice a problem with redness or whatever, it might mean that you're having a histamine response to that, and you don't need to use a topical that has nicotinamide in it, perhaps. All right. Final thing, lasers, which I wish I had more time to talk about it. I don't, so I'm just going to do this super fast, okay? Everybody can benefit from a BBL, and BBL is it's not a Brazilian butt lift. It is broadband light therapy. It is the least invasive. It entails basically no recovery time. It is not painful. I would recommend that you do want to take some ibuprofen and understand that there's going to be discomfort, but it is not something that I would describe as being a rough time or really painful BBL. Now, when you get into other things, like for instance, I just recently got a CO2 laser, fractional laser procedure. It was what was it called? It was a mini peel, basically refers to it as a mini peel, and it's a fractional laser procedure where they have a laser that basically causes ablation or causes damage to a certain fraction of your skin instead of the entire surface of the skin, right? And so it gives it this dot pattern. And so they will often call it a dot procedure because it makes all of these really tiny dot abrasions, dot wounds in your face. And the thinking with that is that even though you're getting just a percentage of your face, and I got my neck too, your face and neck is actually damaged. Most of it is left undamaged. The fact that it's evenly distributed, the damage all over the face and neck, means that you're having the creation of new collagen as the body is trying to repair itself all over the face and the neck. So the reason why you would choose a fractional laser procedure over a fully ablative one, fully ablative meaning like the entire top surface of the skin is taken off. My mom has had one of these, by the way, and the entire skin is penetrated by the laser. The reason why you would want to do what I did instead of that is because my version is much less extreme. If you're doing the fractional thing, it's much less extreme. It's going to have much less recovery time. And so my mom, when she got the fully ablative one, so to speak, and her entire face, it swole up. She would have a couple of these little pustules that formed. She had to be very careful about, she couldn't get any light at all on her face. She was even covering up windows in the house and stuff. She had to apply this antibiotic cream to her face regularly, et cetera, et cetera. It was a bigger deal. Now, the result that she got was certainly better, right? The entire face being affected, there was much more regeneration going on and much more building of collagen and so forth. But what researchers have found is that the procedure that I got actually is 75% as effective as what she got. So in other words, she was dealing with a lot more recovery, pain, stuff like that to get a 25% better result. You see what I'm saying? And so my point being that when you talk to your doctor about laser stuff, if you decide you want to pursue a laser thing and talk to your doctor about it, when you talk to your doctor about laser stuff, you want to be clear about whether you are wanting a more dramatic result. Man, I've mistreated my face for decades and I smoked and I did all the sun and I've just got all these spots or whatever, right? Then you're probably going to want to do a more large scale, full, complete resurfacing procedure, right? As opposed to what I was wanting to do was I feel like my skin's already in good shape. I'm just wanting something that will stimulate new collagen, that will kind of amp up I'm getting older now, that will maybe kind of amp things up in terms of regeneration and youthfulness and so forth, but I don't want some real heavy recovery process or whatever. I mean, I looked weird for, I would say, a full 5 days. So you're definitely going to look weird. And there was a bit of itching and discomfort, but nowhere near like what my mom dealt with. It was not a big deal. I did not perceive it as being a big deal. Now, the procedure at times was kind of painful. Again, you want to be prepared for these things and take your ibuprofen and be in a zen-like state and all of that, but because none of these things are painless. And again, that's why a lot of people would say, well, I don't even want to do this. And you don't have to. But the results are scientifically proven on these laser procedures. And if you have a good practitioner, then they're not going to mess up your face. Now, you can go on Reddit, buyer beware. You can go on Reddit and you can see all these people who've gotten these bad results and horror stories. And it's like with anything, you're going to see that. And so everybody has to make their own decision again as to and do their research and find a practitioner that they feel good about, or they can see before and afters, et cetera, and that sort of thing, right? But these are powerful procedures. Now, I would say if you want to stay away from the laser thing, if the laser thing, like the fractional laser even scares you, the BBL, it's just, even Martha Stewart said that she thinks of it like getting her teeth cleaned every 6 months. She says, every 6 months, I'll get my teeth cleaned and I'll get a BBL because it doesn't do any obvious damage to the skin. There's no recovery period. And it's just very rejuvenating. And I can always see it. After I do a BBL, I always see this amazing glow on my skin. It is something that is definitely visible. But a BBL is not going to take off. It's not going to resurface your skin, right? A BBL is going to help to turn back the clock or to hold aging more at bay. And there's very powerful research on that people who do regular BBLs even once a year for 10 years, that their skin has barely aged in those 10 years that they've done it. I mean, there are people who've had powerful results, but BBL is the preventative thing. If you've already got a lot of stuff on your face that you're wanting to get rid of, or you're wanting it to be less intense, you're wanting to take off, this or that, and then more resurfacing at that point might be something that you want to do. So, yeah. And then, like I said, microneedling, it definitely, my face glows after a microneedle too. And of course, again, the point with that is that not only are you putting little holes in the skin to cause rejuvenation, but also the product can be very well absorbed after that. And actually, the same thing goes for like the laser stuff. Like after my mom got her laser procedure and after I got my fractional laser procedure, they had anti-age product specially formulated for those types of procedures that's meant to go deep down into the skin, right? Because not every product you want going deep down into the skin, but it's meant to be used in those procedures. And so they just slathered my face with that after I got the fractional laser procedure, because I had holes in my face at that point, right? And they just slathered the product. So again, you can see the advantage in that. I have had a lot of people asking me about the red light therapy. And I'm going to end on this note here. The red light therapy, I don't know what to think about it, because there's not really very strong conclusive science one way or the other. And there sure are a ton of people. I've never tried it because it's supposed to be such a gradual thing anyway, that I always felt like there were other things more potent that I could invest my time and money in, right? But there sure are a lot of people that I've seen online, more so than with other products, who really feel like they were gypped and that the red light stuff doesn't do anything. And I noticed that the companies have been getting criticism along the lines of basically that their product is not actually, that they don't have actually the science to back up the claims that they've made about these products. And again, I know there's the Lima, the at-home thing, where it's more targeted, and you're supposed to use it on your on different sections of your face, back and forth and stuff. And I don't know. This is what I would say about this, is that I looked at the cost of a Lima laser, and it was like $2 or $3 grand. And what I would say is you would do much, much better to take your $2,000 or $3,000 and go to a good med spa or good dermatologist, plastic surgeon, whoever's doing these procedures in your area, and invest in a laser package with them. Because, you can get like the fractional laser thing that I got. You can get those depending on the practitioner. You can get those for like $500 to $800. Again, I'm talking about the more minor fractional laser procedure. A BBL you can get depending on the practitioner for like $300, $400, $500, as I understand it. Again, I don't pay for these things, so I'm not quite up on the prices. But I remember when I looked online, thinking that the prices for some of these laser procedures that are very effective, I think long term, were not that high. They were in the hundreds of dollars. And as you know, at these places, a lot of these places, if you buy a package, then you get a discount then on the individual lasers, the individual services. You can buy a package of, this many for this amount. And so I would sure as hell take my $2,000 to $3,000 that I'm thinking of spending on the Lima laser or the red light mask or whatever, and I would invest in other products or other lasers and some nice laser packages, perhaps at a local laser clinic. But I know there are people who say that they think the red light stuff works too, and they point to some literature and some studies and so forth. So I'm going to have to plead some ignorance on that, just like with the Botox and the fillers. I mean, Botox and fillers definitely work. They definitely do when used in moderation what they're supposed to do. The question that I have about Botox and fillers is, what kind of damage are they perhaps doing to the skin? Because when we start talking about injecting foreign stuff into the skin, even though I know people say it's bioidentical and all of that, maybe so, but we start talking about injecting stuff into the skin that has these powerful effects, and I think, yeah, but long term, what does that do? And I've definitely seen people talking about with some of these things that, like even with the Botox, freezing your muscles. Well, your muscles, as I said earlier, are part of the scaffolding that make your face look youthful. I'm not sure that freezing and atrophying muscles is necessarily long-term what we want to be doing for aging. At the same time, I can't deny that Brad Pitt, who I'm sure has a face full of Botox and fillers and has for many years, I can't deny he looks great. So I don't know. It's been 2 hours and 7 minutes. This is where I'm going to have to leave it, y'all. I do thank you, Andrew Jacobs, for that super chat. This is where I'm going to have to leave it, y'all. And so, look, I've given you 2 hours here. If you've gotten anything at all useful or beneficial out of this, buy me a coffee, go to PayPal, leave me a tip. You don't have to have an account there to do it, just a credit or a debit card. And I do appreciate you. Even as the stock market falls apart today, you can spend your last dollar to tip me on PayPal for this completely superfluous end of civilization skincare advice. Thanks to my mods, thanks to my support.